After a weekend of violence, a ceasefire between Israel and the Islamic Jihad military group in Gaza appears to be holding. According to CNN, at least 44 Palestinians, including 15 children and some militants, were killed in the violence, and this is from Palestinian officials. Of course, the information from Palestinian officials is not always very reliable. So, will the ceasefire hold? Will tempers flare between the two sides again soon? What is going on in the Middle East right now? Joining me now to discuss, publisher of the New York Sun, David Ifun. David, good to see you.
Always a pleasure, Buck.
So this just was one of these stories that all of a sudden over the weekend people were seeing, and it started getting international attention. Can you just bring us up to speed? What led up to this? What happened? What's been going on?
Well, look, as your listeners will be aware, Israel is in the unfortunate position of having a neighbor that is run by a terror group, various terror groups, right on its southern border. And from time to time, those terrorists, see benefit in instigating war with Israel, start firing rockets. Sometimes it's a matter of gaining leverage. Sometimes it's ideological. And Israel is forced to respond to that to protect its citizens. It's on the southern border, but also lately with more advanced rockets, the terror group's able to fire on Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So, this has been going on for some time. Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005. I was actually there in person when it happened. And since that time, terror groups have gained control of that land, and Israel has had to face this on a more or less frequent basis. I've now directed coverage of 4 different wars over the years that Israel has faced in Gaza. So this was really the latest flare-up, although I would say this one seems to have been handled more effectively by the Israelis than any of the others in the past.
Here's a statement from the Israel Defense Forces on these airstrikes. After days of escalating threats from Islamic Jihad in Gaza, a terrorist organization that has committed hundreds of attacks against Israel in the past, we launched a preventative military operation, targeted top Islamic Jihad commanders, took out dozens of Islamic Jihad military targets, defended Israeli civilians from rocket attacks, and acted to ensure minimal civilian casualties. So at this stage, David, does it seem as the IDF strikes have been effective at stopping the imminent threat?
Yeah, I mean, this one, out of any other conflict that Israel's had in Gaza, it seems like the Israelis have come out on top in a very significant way. They were very effectively able to use the wedge, first of all, between the various terror groups in Gaza. That's Iran-backed Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and then Hamas, which is the larger terror group. They were also able to leverage, allies in Egypt and other countries in the region through the Abraham Accords and other accords to put pressure on Islamic Jihad. But more than that, the military campaign was incredibly effective. I mean, they eliminated top Islamic Jihad leaders almost immediately. The intelligence was superb. The Iron Dome performed better than it's ever performed before. And more importantly, in the information battleground, they were more effective. I mean, you pointed to a CNN story right there about casualties. I mean, one of the incredible things that Israel's dealt with over the years is that a very large percentage of rockets that are fired from Gaza land in Gaza and kill Gazan people, innocents and children. And those deaths are almost always inevitably blamed on Israel. But what Israel has learned to do in this battle, done so more effectively, is to present evidence in real time of the Islamic Jihad crimes. So there, that report mentioned the deaths of some children, which is always unfortunate, but those children were killed by Islamic Jihad rockets that fell short and landed in Gaza. And the IDF was able to show through satellite imagery, through radar technology, exactly the trajectory of those rockets fired from Gaza, landed in Gaza, landed on those civilian targets, killed those civilians. Palestinian Islamic Jihad is responsible.